Today we're at Seaford, southeast of Melbourne. We're checking out the Seaford Banksia Arboretum with Banksia Man, Ross Shepherd. How are you, Ross?
I'm great, thank you very much, David.
Ross is the mastermind behind this extensive planting.
Okay, so this is the foundations of the Seaford Arboretum, even though it's in my backyard, because 8-9 years ago I put in a Banksia Man, a prior notes, a marginata and a speciosa. And as you can see, they have grown considerably and beautifully. The flowers are phenomenal and they flower every year and they grow more every year. And the ones that were in the middle were not so well, they got diseased. So I pulled them out and now we've just got these two beauties, which are plenty big enough for a little wee backyard like I've got. So that's the story of how the Arboretum started. Was it started in this place here when I realised how beautiful and how well these Banksias grew. It put me to thinking about what could I do with this knowledge, especially as the Banksias are full of seeds, so I could get the seeds, what could I do with it? So that was the seed for starting the Arboretum off, which is around a kilometre away. This is a cut leaf Banksia because of the shape of the leaves. The ends of the leaves is cut off and it comes in both bright yellow like this and also in a wine red colour, and then there's some other variations which are a mixture of green and red called New Dawn. But these are very popular, very hardy, and a strong recommendation for people to grow. Very dense, so one handle being in strong winds, but otherwise it's a great plant to be using and get very colourful from.
There's I'd call it a port wine or a purple coloured form of this Banksia. Grows a bit more upright, and here the cones can be twice as long as this one, can't they?
Yeah, these are the first year of flowering, so this hasn't really hit its strides yet. But yeah, the flowers can be that long and this round.
Wow.
In both colour forms. Yeah.
Stunning Banksia, and you can quite commonly find some of these in your nurseries.
Yes, they're easy. When we first put all these in, this was just a field of green bags. But as the plants have grown and the bags, they biodegrade. So
we're on the corner of Seaford Road and the Murray Freeway, and this is where Ross has planted out, with the help of volunteers, the Banksia Arboretum. Now, this used to be a bit of a dumping ground for hooligans and
like any other wasteland, if it's left alone, people will start using it to tip rubbish in. There's lots of old cans and rubbish, bottles, building rubbish. We've taken 8 2-ton truckloads of rubbish out to the tip. So that's been great through one of the volunteers, Scott, and he's got a bobcat and a tip truck, so it made it very convenient to have him as a friend.
Yeah. So what was your vision and idea with this whole site here, Ross?
So when I realised that the territory here was capable of withstanding all the different types of Banksias that you could chuck at it, that was phenomenal news for me as a gardener, that I could literally put a plant from Western Australia's desert area in here and it would grow. And so I then thought, well, I could make this tip area look a whole lot better. So I approached VicRoads, the owners, about getting permission to plant. And over a year, I got the permits and became a roadside planting proposition with VicRoads, which is now the Department of Transport, by the way. And so then we kicked off and organised some help with Rotary, and also Bunnings kicked in with 60 plants and things like that. So with sponsorship and things like that, we then had planting bees. People came from around the neighbourhood and joined in.
So you've had some really good volunteers.
Yeah, we've had 30 people here on one day.
Yeah, great that your local Frankston City Council has been working in well with you.
Yes, they've been a good sponsor and continue to be so. They can obviously see the benefit of having an entrance into Seaford, which is a stunning and the only one of its kind in the east coast of Australia. So
a big part of your whole vision was to turn this from a place where people dump their trash and that sort of thing to habitat for the local wildlife and visual appeal with the stunning colour of flowers.
Yeah, and there's going to be flowers. At some point during the year, there'll be some Banksias in flower here all the time. And then there's people there's some handicapped people from Carrum. There's a bicycle track goes to Carrum from just near across the road here. And they come down here just to have peace and meditation in what they consider to be wildlife. Because as you move further into the into the bowl of this part of the Arboretum, it's quite peaceful, and there's often herons feeding in this swamp just here behind us.
So where did you grow the seeds, mate?
Frankston City Council grew some seeds. Kevin and Kathy Collins donated 26 packets of Banksia seeds, and then Rotary Frankston came along and donated money. Frankston City Council donated money.
So it's been a good community sort of effort, and
Yeah.
you've sort of helped lead the way.
Yeah, I manage it all, yeah.
Yeah,
And we've got about 20 local volunteers which come up and down from Mornington Peninsula, look after everything. Yeah.
Geez, what a great community thing you got going there, mate. It's great for people to have a bit of initiative and pride in the work that you're doing, you know.
So none of the bull Banksias have got old enough to be flowering yet. They're too young. They'll be about 5 or 6 when they flower, but they're popping along. They're doing pretty well, as you can see.
Why have you chosen Banksias, Ross?
For 40 years now, I've been growing Banksias. I used to live in Vermont South, and I had about 70 of the 84 varieties, but I put them in the ground, and most of them wouldn't move very much, the heavy clay soils. So like I said, when I was at home, and I put a couple in as a test planting, I couldn't believe how much they grew, 1 metre a year and flowered every year. And that's what encouraged me to think, well, this place is really special, but I don't know how many people realise it. So
this is in your place at Seaford, just up the road here.
Yeah.
The Banksias grew like they were on steroids.
Absolutely.
And then you realise they were the perfect. But you've had a fascination for Banksias for 40 years.
Yeah, because they were primarily the first plant species to be discovered in Australia when Joseph Banks landed at Botany Bay. And over there in that green bag, we have a Botany Bay Banksia from Botany Bay.
What one is that?
It's Integrifolia crossed with Paludosa.
Oh, right.
From Neil Marriott
Nice.
provided it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the link with Australia and the discovery of Banksias as the first floral species to be identified as something different by the Brits, that plus just the stunning flower and the wide variety of shapes and foliage. And
how many species of Banksias do you have in here, mate?
now that's a tough question. Somewhere around 70 at the moment,
All right.
but some of them are so rare that they're never available to buy.
And so do you try and plant like, say, 3 in a group?
Well,
Things like that?
Nearly all of them are in clusters of their species. So as we walk along a bit further here, you'll start to see there's a cluster of Calei here. Calei has a bright scarlet red flower. Now this one here, this Calei up here,
Oh yes, I know Calei.
he has some of the prettiest dark red flowers you can imagine. But Calei has its flowers underneath itself. So by putting them up on the bank, you can see them, but see there's a row of them there.
And what the flowers sort of come down from the lower part of the bush?
Yeah, well, if I walk up here, the flower is in under there.
Ah, okay.
But if you're down on the bank here, you can look up and see them.
Yep.
But
yep.
ordinarily they're a bit hidden. But they're coming along, and they'll be a big 3 metre round bush. And then just right beside it, there's a row of 5 Vincendia, which come from northern New South Wales region.
Oh, yep.
So you can start to see the rows occurring.
Yep.
I talked to VicRoads, and over a period of a bit over a year, we got a roadside planting permit, and that allowed us to then keep Australia Beautiful Council insurance on our work. And then I'll call out for volunteers and more Rotary to help, and many tip truckloads of rubbish taken off the site.
Yeah.
And a huge amount of mirror bush cut down and removed. And now we've got the sediments of a botanical gardens forming.
That's amazing.
And
So you've got an arboretum there now.
Absolutely, and it's got just past 2,000 Banksias in there at the moment.
How old is this planting you've got here?
Nothing
Ross?
you're looking at's more than 3 years old.
All right. Wow.
So it's all the plants and the heights of them. That is a testimony. Like look at the semi-nudas there. They're 3 or 4 metres high.
And they're only 3 years old.
The same for the river red gum right as you're going past it right there now. Yeah. he's about 6 metres high. But they're not old enough yet. Some of the Banksias by nature just don't flower until they're matured, and others flower from the first year they're in the ground. It just depends on what species you're growing. Well, they flower every year, the prey mosses. Like like this is a 3-year-old fella, and as you can see, we get a problem with the wind, so they're heavily staked to protect them from the wind until they get sufficient strength. But look, how many flowers has that one got? Probably about 20 flowers.
Yeah.
And it's about a 1.2 metre ball.
How do you keep all this kikuyu and the weeds at bay from strangling around the bases of the plants?
Well, there's 2 things going on. The Banksias come from natural environment of weeds around them. And I'm not overly concerned about it if they don't choke them out. But we've also got volunteers that come in with slashes. And as you can see, if you go up there, you'll see areas where around the Banksias, they're all slashed down.
I see that.
That's mostly, we haven't got rabbits and we haven't got snakes. It's mostly just to provide them with some protection from the wind until they get going. And then, as you can see, the green plastic parts, if you look, you can see they're biodigest, so they break down.
Yeah.
So, but most of the time I come along and take them off. Look at this one. There's north over there. So that's north and that's south. Look how the flower's growing, like I said to you. So you can see it's a compass by itself. It works really well. And this is Banksia hooker, a nice fine leaf. Pretty plant, very foliferous, as you can see. It's about
so this is the area that cops the most sun.
Yeah. The flowers actually grow faster in that side.
Yeah.
The whole lot will come around, but there'll be a colour change between this side and that side. See, this is paler. And that's brighter.
And so this is what the indigenous people use as a compass.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rather simple, but it
always works. I've never heard that before.
But it always works. So if you see a cut flower in a show, you go, oh, well, that was that side of the plant.
Yeah.
So these are just ericofolias of different types. We've got 2 types of ericofolia here, Macranthera, which has a red flower, and the brown flowered form.
These ericofolias, are they looking more tight here? Is this from being so dry over the summer? Or?
Yes.
And this Banksia roba looks like it's got a bit of iron deficiency.
Boom, boom. So I put some iron chelate, iron sulfate on the ground there, and then the rain washes it in, and that yellow will disappear in a couple of weeks. Most of the Banksias in Australia came from red soils, and the really red soil is because there's iron oxide in the soil. So the plants naturally are looking for an iron oxide because it's part of their natural environment. Here on the east coast, where we're using Seaford sand to grow in, it hasn't got the iron. So you can put nails in the ground, you can put rusty iron on the ground, or you can use iron sulfate. Iron sulfate's easier.
What has been your most difficult, challenging things with getting all these Banksias going in this area, mate?
Just the 45-degree incline bank.
Yeah,
just a bit
isn't it?
Standing up and then trying to dig a hole while you got one leg halfway down there and the other. You want to be a tripod bloke. You need 3 legs, really. Yeah. So the hardest part, because the soil's soft.
Yep.
So it's just sand. So it's the digging's not really hard, and you'll see that later on when we come to put that plant in that I want you to plant.
That's right. I'm putting I feel very honoured.
Telmatia. You're going to be planting in a Telmatia.
Yeah.
It's the same species as what's going up there, so you've got another
beauty.
Telmatia.
Leptophila, is it?
Yep, that's the leptophila.
Yeah, thank you. It looks. Have you got a watering can?
Well, I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Generally, there's enough moisture in the soil to pick it up. And that's our well.
Oh.
You okay to walk in here?
Yeah.
Okay. That shows you when that hole is into the water table, and we go just shovel the dirt out a bit, and we can get water from there. Yeah. Down the hole. That's how close. The water table's only a metre.
You've got your own well.
Yeah, and here's a rover doing a whole lot better because it's getting the water at once, and it's coming into bud again. Huh? And again here, it's 2 buds on it. Got another bigger bud down here. Can you pick up the colour of that? That's as dark a red as you'll get.
Banksia occidentalis. Yeah.
Dark as.
Beautiful, mate. Is this a swamp Banksia?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, all that water from all those houses up there, they just drop it on the ground, and it flows through the sand here into this trench, and then goes out under the Wells Road and around to the next part of the Arboretum, and eventually crosses under the road. So it floods. So this whole ground, when a bit later on, this will all just be a magic of swamp. In fact, over there, can you see the shiny leaf plant?
Yep.
That's a flat leaf swamp dweller.
Oh,
and it's growing in the swamp there now. It's come back. It was all gone, and now it's coming back.
And so, you'll get egrets and
herons,
and
all that. Yep.
All that
and the froggies come.
And the froggies.
Yeah, the froggies live down here.
Was there any reason why you've chosen to use Banksias from all over the place and not just specific Banksias for this area that grow in this area?
Well, because, as I mentioned before, I haven't found any Banksia that grows in Australia that doesn't grow in Seaford.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So if you work away from that strategy, it means I can put any Banksia from anywhere in Australia or the world, because Banksias come from Australia.
Yeah.
Then, we'll just bung them in and away they go.
For more information on the Seaford Banksia Arboretum, if you'd like to volunteer, you can find Ross Shepherd on Banksia Lovers Facebook.